How we doing? A little late, had to change some stuff around. So thank you very much for joining us this week for the Ravery Sports Podcast. For fans like me, like and subscribe to all of our social media content. So we had a anniversary with Mrs. Ravery we had to attend to. We got the graduation coming up for the oldest Ravery here tomorrow. So we got to take care of all those things. So we're gonna go ahead. So we got that going on tomorrow. But we're here discussing everything here, all Ravens, Orioles. We're gonna talk a little NBA playoffs because we're in the playoffs. So thank all of you for joining us here on the Ravery Sports Podcast. Here, rollout on June 1st is going to be for the new Fanatics link that is there. So definitely we're gonna check that out. So June 1st, the new Fanatics link is going to be squared away. It is going to be easy to get the Ravens and Orioles merchandise. You see it right there at the bottom of the screen. Genesis Notary Services slash go ahead. Genesis Notary Services slash Facebook.com. So definitely check it out. Don't always forget, of course, our venerable RaverySports.company.site. See Charles Harris. We are Legal Shield. So definitely, if you need any help legally, definitely try Legal Shield. I mean, you're going to save so much money. There's so much money being spent on lawyers and everything today. I don't have to tell you if you're in business, some of the stuff that's going on that I've seen. So definitely save yourself a lot of money. Definitely check it out. Go to Legal Shield. Definitely go to Harris Legal Shield on Facebook and check it out, or LinkedIn. Definitely, there's a number on there where you can give us a call. Be happy to go ahead and get you squared away. All right, so let's go ahead and get to business here. Let's go ahead and talk Baltimore Ravens. So, the Hall of Fame. So, the stream says we're going to honor and we're going to talk a little about the Hall of Fame tonight. The Ravens, considering the fact that they are a franchise that isn't been around but 30 years. That's not a long time. I'm older than that. A lot of you watching this are older than that, are 30 years old. So I was actually there at the first game at the old Memorial Stadium in '96. I went with my dad and my brother. And so that's a history that's not that long in considering when you talk about these teams like the Packers and the Bears and the Browns that have been around, over 100 years, almost like going on 100 years now of the NFL. So not even also to AFL teams like the Chiefs and the Raiders, etc., Broncos, that old AFL teams. So you're talking about teams with a Hall of Fame, but they have a pretty decent history of guys in the Hall of Fame. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about guys, Ravens, that are in the Hall of Fame, maybe the ones you think belong in the Hall of Fame, guys who currently maybe have a shot at the Hall of Fame, Ring of Honor, and jersey retired. As far as that goes, we're going to talk a little bit about OTAs. Obviously, today as starting. Not a whole lot with OTAs, but we're going to go over a little bit as well. Go over, obviously, and baseball summer starts. So let's talk about the Ring of Honor. So what is that? So the Ravens Ring of Honor is their version of the Hall of Fame in M&T Bank Stadium in Baltimore. So the Ring of Honor is the group of guys that are honored by the team in stadiums, in games, and everything like that. So let's go ahead and get you squared away. The list is full of Colts. Obviously, Marshall Yanda's there. I think he's the latest one. But there's a lot of they also, too, with the Ravens, they don't honor the Ravens. They honor the entire Baltimore football history. So we talked about that, the Baltimore football history. And it's not just the Ravens, but you talk about I'm a little bit too young for the Colts, I guess. The Colts left in 83, and I think it was 83 or 82. So I really don't remember Colts games as far as that they were just leaving the long period. But if you talk about guys older, there was a long Colts history, and was talking about Art Modell, wanted to honor the history of the Colts. So there's a lot of Baltimore Colts in the Ring of Honor. So some names, like maybe like you younger fans aren't familiar with Raymond Berry. Raymond Berry was an outstanding coach for years, great Baltimore Colts player as well. Art Donovan is a Baltimore treasure. Art Donovan, I think, was I never watched him play, obviously, but he was about as very similar to Tony Saragusa in terms of played the same position, defensive tackle. But Art Donovan would show up on David Letterman's show, and he was on Channel 13 for years. He's always had something funny to say. I don't know if you watch Art Donovan analysis, you ever watched a game, but Art was a great spirit of the game, represented the Colts for years. So Art Donovan was there. John Mackey was an announcer in Baltimore for years. The original Ravens announcer, some of you might remember that, along with Scott Garceau, great running back for the Colts. One of the best running backs, I think, in the history of the NFL, along Gino Marchetti. Also, too, look, you talk about guys like Gino Marchetti, one of the great Baltimore Colts. Lenny Moore was a Baltimore staple. Lenny Moore had a restaurant down there in West Baltimore for years. Lenny Moore, that was one of my mom's favorite players, Lenny Moore. Great Jim Parker was there as well. Jim Parker was, again, played with Art Donovan on the defensive line, one of the great players. And I think one of the top 5 best quarterbacks of all time, the great Johnny Unitas. Also in the Ring of Honor, Ravens now. So we had talked about Marshall Yanda. Jamal Lewis, I think, is the best running back in the history of the Baltimore Ravens. Michael McCreary was on that Super Bowl, one of the best defenses of all time, Super Bowl winning. Thank you. The only reason I'm even here right now, we're having this conversation about Baltimore Ravens, is because of Art Modell. I think Art Modell, shout out to Art Modell in the Ring of Honor. Obviously, Brian Billick. Brian Billick was the head coach of the success the Ravens are having even right now. The started with them hiring Brian Billick. So shout out to, obviously, John Harbaugh has been coach for a long time, but Brian Billick in '99 taking over was really got the ball rolling with the success of the franchise. Haloti Ngata, a lot of thought on Haloti Ngata. We'll definitely talk more about him, but Haloti Ngata, Ring of Honor, missing the Hall of Fame, I think, a little bit, but Haloti Ngata is there. Matt Stover, I don't think he was as good as Justin Tucker, but Matt Stover, I think, was a phenomenal field goal kicker as well. T. Sizzle, no question about it. Suggs, I think, maybe the greatest pass rusher in the history of the Ravens, maybe one of the greatest pass rushers in the history of the NFL. No question about it. Even more obvious here, Ray Lewis, I think the greatest middle linebacker in the history of the NFL. Jonathan Ogden, maybe the best offensive lineman, offensive tackle, certainly in the history of the NFL. The greatest ball hawk in the history of the league, Ed Reed. Those are easy as well. I think we already talked about Billy. Peter Boulware. I think, again, you talk about Brian Billick. It's fitting with him because a guy that turned things around. The Ravens weren't very good the first few years. They've had a long track here since really '99 of unprecedented success. And one of the guys that got the party started was really Peter Boulware, drafting him early, really building that great defense in the 2000s. Ernest Biner, this is actually the one I think that's more of a Cleveland Browns holdover. Played for the Ravens, good Ravens contributor. Honored. I think Ernest Biner, outstanding. I think no problem honoring Ernest Biner in the Ring of Honor. Todd Heap. They used to yell it every time he used to catch the football downtown. So there is your Ring of Honor as well. Who might get in to the Ring of Honor? We can all agree Lamar Jackson should get into the Ring of Honor, even if he retired today. Interesting what people thought about Lamar if he retired to now. There was mostly thinking that he should get into the Hall of Fame. We'll talk about that. Marlon Humphrey, potential Ring of Honor. These are players that are on the active or contributors that are on the active. Pat Ricard, bit of a long shot, but there's no fullback. I think you could argue he's the most successful fullback I think the Ravens have had. You could argue that at least Ring of Honor. Eric DeCosta's not in. Eric DeCosta's definitely getting in. He's been a Raven since '96. He actually worked with the first. He's been a Raven since the beginning. He's been a general manager ever since Ozzie Newsome retired. Worked underneath Ozzie Newsome as a scout, as a assistant GM, college director of college scouting. And so there's no question about it. EDC is going to be in. John Harbaugh, I think the only reason he hasn't been is because he's still the coach. I think the second he leaves the field, no question about it. Ronnie Stanley, I think, is definitely one. And obviously, Ronnie Stanley, I think, is probably not for Jonathan Ogden, the greatest contributor there. And Steve Bisciotti, I think, can't put yourself in. It'll be at some point, but Steve Bisciotti, I think, is as far as owners go, has had as much success as anyone. So no question about that one. All right, this is very interesting. The jersey number retirement. We're going to talk about this spot retires. So I actually looked this, and I assume that some of these numbers were retired when I researched this. 52, 20. Etc. So the Ravens do not have any retired jerseys as a team. None. So what they have is unofficial retired jerseys. So their jerseys, what we have, the best way to explain it is this was lifted recently. Cal Ripken Sr. for years had a moratorium on his jerseys, right? So what's a moratorium? A moratorium is we're not retiring the jersey, but we're not using it because we expect it to be retired at some point, right? They want to not retiring Cal Senior's jersey because they gave it to Jackson Holiday. But a lot of times when they put a moratorium on a jersey, you're doing that to retire a number. The Ravens, however, have not officially retired any numbers, right? So all these numbers right now are quote unquote unofficially retired. I don't understand this. I've seen a couple teams with this. The craziest one to me with unofficially retired numbers was Terry Bradshaw. That's like crazy. Terry Bradshaw's jersey is not retired in Pittsburgh. That's insane. Like Terry Bradshaw hasn't played football in 40 years. I don't even remember Terry Bradshaw on the field. I think it was 82 or 3, like since he's played. So you've had a moratorium on 12 for that long. That's crazy. Anyway, but that's what the Ravens do. For whatever reason, they haven't retired. So these are the unofficially retired numbers. Ray Lewis, 52, Ed Reed, 20, Jonathan Ogden, 75, Terrell Suggs, 55, Marshall Yanda, 73, Johnny Unitas representing the Colts, 19. Very interesting story there. The first year the Ravens played in 96, it was Scott Mitchell as the quarterback coming over for the Lions. He wore 19. And a lot of the old Baltimore Colts fans lost their mind. What is somebody doing in Baltimore wearing number 19, Johnny Unitas? After Mitchell left, it hasn't been worn since. So there's going to be no number 19. I don't understand why you just don't retire the number. Like Scott Mitchell's been gone since 96. You haven't anyway. But I'm not saying I agree with it or I understand, but this is what they're doing. So these are numbers. I'm assuming whatever it is, criteria that they're going to be retired. And the league does discourage jersey number retirements. They don't want, because they want to sell jerseys. They don't want to just, honor it, whatever. Sometimes Jackie Robinson in baseball, his number is retired for all teams. There are certain jerseys that are retired, but again, unofficially retired. Those are the unofficially retired jerseys. Okay, so these are all the guys who have ever worn a Ravens uniform in Hall of Fame. Okay, yes, I'm counting the ones that wore it for a short time. Ray Lewis, greatest middle linebacker of all time. I was actually there in Canton for that. Me and my family actually went to Canton when Ray Lewis went into the Hall of Fame a couple of years ago. It was a good experience. About a 6-hour drive there. We all went to Canton, the Hall of Fame. It was a great experience there. We went there for that. Jonathan Ogden is retired. Yeah, Ed Reed is in the Hall of Fame as well. Deion Sanders, not known as a Raven, but definitely played for the Ravens, is in the Hall of Fame. Shannon Sharp, there's a lot in there with Shannon. Shannon, I think, might be the greatest free agent acquisition in the history of the Ravens. Helped the Ravens win a Super Bowl. Same with Rod Woodson. You could argue if that is, again, more known as a Steeler, but Rod Woodson, obviously I think he's one of the greatest safeties in the history of the Ravens. And Devin Hester's in the Hall of Fame. Devin Hester, I think, very short tenure with the Ravens. Devin Hester, greatest, I think, kickoff returner, punt returner in the history of the NFL. No question about it. Okay. So who's retired but not yet in the Hall? So it's going to be similar to guys that are in the Ring of Honor. Jamal Lewis, I think, is very underrated for the Hall. If you got Jerome Bettis, you certainly should have more consideration for Jamal Lewis. Very similar backs, very similar numbers, but Bettis is already in, but there's no Jamal Lewis. Michael McCrary, I think the sack numbers almost there, so I think it is possibility he gets in on the veterans. Art Modell absolutely should be in the Hall of Fame because he was the only reason he's not in. They hate him in Cleveland because he actually moved the team, so that's the reason why he's not in. Brian Billick, I think, is a bit of a long shot, but his win-loss record, I think, deserves consideration. It is possible he gets in at some point. Haloti Nada, I think I asked this question on Twitter, should Haloti get in? Interesting. I think Haloti, I saw a lot of Hall of very good with Haloti. Some said yes, some said no. That might not get you in, but very close with Haloti. Haloti, I think also the problem, defensive tackle, I think, might be one of the harder positions to get in. It just is. It's kind of like guard. You really have to have won a lot of awards to get in as a tackle or as a guard. It's hard. Matt Stover, I think, isn't in. I think, again, a long shot, but I think some consideration. Terrell Suggs, I'm surprised he didn't get in on the first ballot. I think at some point for sure Terrell Suggs goes ahead and get in the Hall of Fame. Marshall Yanda, I think it's a matter of time as well. Didn't get in on the first ballot with Suggs. I think he gets in. Steve Smith, former Raven, I think definitely could get in at some point. D. Mace and Weddle, I think it's a bit of a long shot. I think they might have to wait for Veterans Committee. Numbers are actually possibly Hall of Fame worthy. It's there. And Anquan Bolden, I think may get in. I think a bit of, again, not necessarily for sure, but I think it's possible. Matt Burke, I think is possible as well. I think definitely you look at all his accolades, most Pro Bowls of any player, I think, for the Ravens, I think outside of Jonathan Uck. He didn't get them all with the Ravens because he played a lot of years in Minnesota, but definitely. And I'm going to put him in the retired category because he's no longer this. But when I asked if Justin Tucker get in the Hall of Fame, it was unanimous. The GOAT Justin Tucker to get in. Interesting to see with everything that happened, how it still goes. Current players, I think it's possible in the Hall of Fame. Lamar, I think, gets in at some point. Flacco, I think, is a little closer than what people think. I think like this second career he's had, post Ravens, Denver, Colts, etc., Browns again. I think the numbers are creeping up closer to the Hall of Fame. Derrick Henry, I think, cemented his place last year. More known as a Titan, but Derrick Henry, boy, I think it's going to be hard to keep out. Andrews, I think, has to keep going a little bit with better numbers. I think it's going to be harder for him. Interesting. These next 3 years are going to be very key for him as far as getting in. More of a longer shot. I think Roquan Smith also is on the track for the Hall of Fame to get in. It's a few of the names I didn't put yet, like Kyle Hamilton, Tyler Linderbaum, a little too early for that in those cases. But these guys have had bona fides as far as a longer career as far as the Hall of Fame. There you go. All right. So that's our Hall of Fame discussion in terms of guys who could get in the Hall of Fame. I think it's fun. I think it's a good thing to look at to see what the guys that are going to get into the Hall of Fame have a chance, Ring of Honor. I think the retired jerseys thing really blew my mind. I kind of almost didn't even put that in the second. And the more I researched it, it was unbelievable. It was really strange. that there's no officially retired jerseys by the team. Wow. So there you go. Hall of Fame Ravens. Next week, kind of keeping with this theme, we're going to talk about the top 20 NFL players of all time. So who is the best 20? See if any Ravens make that list or more than one. So we're going to talk about that. Once we get done with that next week with football, we're going to kind of get more back into uh, back into the Ravens, particularly as far as the current squad. We're going to talk about training camp battles, stuff like that. We're going to go there. All right. So speaking of the current roster, OTAs is here right now. Honestly, there's not a lot I have for OTAs. Not a lot happened. Most guys were on the field. Mark Andrews did show up, played. Lamar did show up. Derrick Henry as well. I didn't see, and the Kyle Van Noy apparently wasn't there. So that's a thing. They practiced pretty much inside. Not a lot happened. I mean, there was good attendance. I think that's probably the biggest thing there, that there wasn't anybody. I don't think anybody that I know that will hold out as well. Tyler Loop showed up. McCallicky Starks looked good. I thought in practice. That's I don't have. I again, organizing activities is something that if the roster's pretty set, more or less. So I don't think there was a lot there. Lamar obviously looked very good. DeAndre Hopkins, I think from what we're seeing, looked good in practice. I think it'll be interesting though to see. I think we're going to talk about that if what we're going to talk about is who is the second running back behind Derrick Henry. Is it going to be Keaton Mitchell or is it going to be Justice Hill? Justice Hill was terrific last year. I thought Justice Hill got an extension, earned an extension. Keaton Mitchell, I thought, was very good at the end of the year, going to be completely healthy as well. Article I read said, don't rule out Ben Cleveland as a potential starter. I'm absolutely ruling out Ben Cleveland. As a potential, there is zero chance. That would be like the craziest thing in the world. Have Ben Cleveland as a starter. Voorhees as well. Trent Simpson looked pretty good. Jay Higgins that looked decent, I think, as well. According to reports that he went ahead and did that. So anyway, OTAs, I think, so that's going on right now. We're going to have mini camp not too far away from that. Mini camp, I think you learn a little bit more about the depth chart and things like that. But a lot of time now they're just running some drills. Now we're hitting. So I don't think you learn a ton here about them yet. So we will see how that goes in OTAs as we go along. NBA. Pacers and the Knicks. Man, if you haven't checked this out right now, I'm going to check it out right now as far as the score. 3-1 in this series. Right now, it is the Pacers on the verge of actually winning the series. They actually won game 3 the other night in Indiana. I think the Pacers, the Knicks won the other night, game 3. So we definitely made it a series. Knicks are going to be at home for game 5. I think they did show signs of life. This series is, in matter of fact, exactly what, and I hate to reference the 90s and all that stuff all the time, but it absolutely is what you would have expected in this. Tyler Halliburton now taking the role of Reggie Miller in the series. Pascal Siakam, I think, has been very good, very underrated. He was very underrated for years in Toronto. Definitely, he showed aggression in game 3. He showed aggression in game 4, and that really was a difference in this series, helping him out. Him and Miles Turner, I think, really setting the tone on offense as well. So, but this has been exactly what you expected. Knicks better defensively and just smacking them in the mouth the whole time. Jalen Brunson scoring a lot of points. They've had lulls because he has been really not moving the ball as well, and his game kind of doesn't really really relate to that. Kind of like the same problem that James Harden kind of has in playoff games, where like once the refs and the whistles in the playoffs, things like that, he can't just play bump basket, etc. He's got to pass the ball more. When they've had spurts, it's been because they've had ball movement in this series. So Brunson has been good. Kind of got benched a little bit. I call it benched in Game 4. Got benched in Game 3, even though they won, didn't play until the last minute. These are the two oldest coaches in the league, Tom Thibodeau and Rick Carlisle. And let me tell you something. Shout out Rick Carlisle. Rick Carlisle, I think, is one of the better coaches. It looks like he's going to get his team to the finals here again. He's won everywhere he's been. Already has a world championship. Beat LeBron James in the finals already. So definitely we're going to do a little deeper dive like once we actually get to the finals here. But this is absolutely everything he's been. This is smack each other in the mouth. This is old school basketball. A little bit more scoring, I think, for modern day, but a touch. But this is everything you would expect here. Josh Hart playing well, kind of hitting each other, playing the role of John Starks as well. So two good Eastern Conference Finals here. I think of the two series as well. Games are very, very close as well in this series. Real quick, Kyle Anthony Towns. Almost forgot about Kyle Anthony Towns. This guy really, when he's focused, is such a great player. But I think, man, he just you see this a lot with guys who are good offensively. They never really develop defensively like they should. Coaches really don't. Even in New York, I think he's better than I think he would be in other places because Thibodeau demands defense. But I think it's interesting to see when he is good, the Knicks are good. The Knicks have won games when he's been really good. So interesting to see here. This one is more decisive when you're talking about the Thunder and the Heat. The Thunder is up 3-1 right now. They are up by 30 points. That's right now. So it does look like the Oklahoma City Thunder is going to the finals over the Timberwolves. I'm a little surprised it was this decisive. I thought we would see more from the Timberwolves. I thought this would be a little bit closer of a series. But the Thunder are really good. I don't think I think like the national media a lot of times they're waking up and thinking like the Thunder just woke up and became a great team 5 minutes ago. They've been really good. There's no question about it. Jalen Williams has been really good. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been really good. The defense has been really good. I think there may not be a better run franchise in the league than the Oklahoma City Thunder. What they do is they actually build a basketball team. Now, it sounds weird to say. What most teams do is they go ahead and they build and they look for Michael Jordan, right? They look for the Kobe Bryant. They look for the star. They actually build the whole squad. They don't just take a guy, all right, I took a guard last year, now I'm going to take a center, now I'm going to take a this, now I'm going to take a that, and they've actually built a team that's really, really good. So I think the Thunder is the best run franchise in the NBA. Thunder, Wolves' problem, Edwards, I think, is just not consistent enough quite yet to take you all the way. He needs another guy. He needs a little bit more help. Julius Randle's not the guy to really help him win an NBA, to win an NBA championship. Naz Reid is pretty good on the offensive side. He's had some good nights. Even look at it right now. What is he? 3 for 10. He's just not. And no disrespect to him. I think he's a tremendous player, obviously. I mean, he's gotten this far. But he's just not – I don't think he's quite ready yet to take you all the way. He needs to be more consistent. Game needs to be more consistent, more fluid. to go ahead and actually go and win the NBA title. But I have no doubt. Thunder wins this series up big now, up 4 games, and I think that is it. There, I believe this is the last. This is the last game in the Eastern Conference Finals as well. So interesting to see how this goes as well. All right. We haven't played this in a while, but it is time for us to go ahead and get going here. Where is center field?
Put me in cold. I'm ready to play.
So it is time once again. It is Memorial Day, post Memorial Day. So I always look at sports like in 3 cycles growing up. So once you get to September to January, that's obviously football season, NFL, college football, etc. That football takes over from the fall, from all the way to the end of the year, about till we get to the Super Bowl. So after the Super Bowl is over, so then we get to like post Super Bowl, May, et cetera, et cetera. Time for basketball, college basketball, NBA. We're still in the finals, whatever. And then now we're actually in after Memorial Day. It's time for baseball. Baseball keeps us company all summer, and then we have the baseball summer series. And we are going to talk about minor league baseball. We're going to talk about a lot of these teams we're going to talk about teams in the minor league system. We're going to talk about teams in the Maryland area, the smaller teams. We're going to give an opportunity to 4 games that don't necessarily get talked about as much. Okay, so minor league baseball, actually, all the years that I don't live in Baltimore, I really have a good love for baseball with smaller teams, local team, Winchester Royals. I have a great time going there. I have a great time going to the Keys game. We're going to go to like a small game here. I'm telling you. So this is the purest level, the baseball, the money, and all these things. This is where they learn it here on the small levels. And the biggest of the smallest levels is AAA. And that is the Norfolk Tides, the minor league team for the Baltimore Orioles. Those of you old enough to remember, it used to be the Rochester Red Wings a long time ago. It used to be the team. All right, so the record isn't very good, 19-31. They've been good for a while. I think they've had a really good, because of the Orioles minor league system, I think they've had some success. But this year, more of a typical minor league team, right? So they have some really good prospects that we'll talk about, but they have a lot of guys this year that Tim Ferretz, who is the manager this year, took over for Buck Britton. Joe Gregory, been the GM for a very long time. But they have guys like you're seeing on the screen, T.T. Bones, Central Connecticut State grad, notable name. We're talking about him in this segment for the last couple of years. 27 years old, but he's probably a career minor leaguer. Maybe a 4A player. If he ever gets to the majors, he's probably a guy that's going to be like a utility guy, outfielder, something like that. 4th outfielder, something like that. Thaddeus Ward, picked in the 6th round by the Red Sox, 28 years old. Been one of their better starters for them as well. Also Cameron Weston as well. That's the guy who's been one of their decent starters for them, picked in the 8th round. So possibility to get to the majors. We'll see. Not a prize prospect, but already in AAA. Not sure he's going to be a great prospect. Now, here are some guys that are really good prospects. Let's start from the bottom. Nate Webb. Nate Webb's been good in the bullpen for the Tides as well. 2.4 ERA. I'm sorry, get back on the screen. 2.4 ERA, 0-1. So I think definitely he's a name that I think you can look at as far as some bullpen help this year. We've kind of already seen Brandon Young. He has been really good in the minors. He's a little older, I think. I'm not sure that's right, 25, 26 years old, but he's been really good in the minors. Interesting to see what happens the rest of the way. Good news on Bradish possibly coming back later in the year, but interesting to see how that goes as well. Jed Fabian's kind of the bloom off the rose a little bit with Jed Fabian. Great defensive player. I think that hasn't changed. Great defensively. Definitely up at AAA. Offensively, hasn't done quite as well going up to the higher levels. And I think that's going to be an issue. But I think Fabian, with the glove, I think he'll be fine. I think but I'm looking at him now. He's kind of maybe thinking as well as he was doing in A and AA that he would be a starter. I don't know if he's an MLB starter at this point, but defensively, fourth outfielder, I think is definitely possible for him. Kobe Mayo, I think, is one of the better prospects in all of baseball. Still has been set down twice now at this point. Really tearing the cover off the ball as far as hitting the long ball in AAA. I think he's got a bit of a hitch in his swing, and I do think his defense at third has improved some. Really bad for a while, but he has looked better when I have seen him. Probably he's going to play at first if they do start move people at the deadline and Mount Castle. We'll see. It's that. Dylan Beavers, I've always liked Dylan Beavers. I stand on that. Dylan Beavers, I think, is hitting 303. All he does is hit at every level, steal out of bases every level. I think Dylan Beavers is just about as good of a prospect as Enrique Bradfield that they're really, really high on. I think I'm kind of hearing maybe he's a corner outfielder, but he's probably he's a corner outfielder. I think he can play center no matter where you put him. But two excellent defensive prospects when you talk about Fabian and Beavers. Daniel Mushin is kind of more what I'm talking about, a good 4A player, right? Very good in spring training. He probably could play in the majors for somewhere. I mean, I don't have any doubt about it. You're looking at it. 4 home runs, 33 RBIs, 275 average. He's been hitting at the top of the order. Had him at shortstop. He's been playing a lot of second base for him. And I think the coup de grace, as they say, Sam Basayo, the number one prospect in the Orioles organization, 20 years old, already in AAA. I think he's probably going to see a cup of coffee at least in 2025. I think Basayo, is definitely. Where does he play? I don't know. I don't know. I'm pretty sure at this point that they're going to do, and they haven't addressed this, but I'm pretty sure at this point they're going to play him in the majors along with Adley Rutschman somehow. But there you go. Right. So Masson now is actually going to have some games, and so you can definitely check it out as well. So the 2025 Baseball Summer Series is here. We're going to talk a lot about the MLB, a lot of the teams of the minor leagues, a lot of the players you're going to be seeing coming up to the majors. So definitely check it out.
Put me in cold. I'm
ready to play. So definitely check that out. Baseball Summer. Next week, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go talk about no longer the Bowie Bay Sox, the Chesapeake Bay Sox. We're going to talk a little bit also, too, when we get to Chesapeake and Aberdeen, the business that's going on in both of those places, some changes that are going on in the business. So definitely we're going to go over that. And obviously some of the best prospects and obviously in our system are there. We're going to recap it. The month of May, not very good, obviously, for your Baltimore Orioles. But, you know, we're here. Signs of life, signs of life. A long losing streak that we had. A lot of us know about that. But signs of life. They won 3 in a row this week. They came close. I'm looking at it right now, 6-4 tonight as well. some signs of coming around, some better pitch games here. So showing some signs, trying to be positive. Record isn't very good. We all know 19-35 and going into the night. One of 4 of their last 10. That includes winning 3 in a row earlier this week. Not good. Easily in last place, not nearly in first. Definitely 15 games out of first, which is an improvement. Obviously, there's two, and when you talk about the batting order, there is 2 guys that we're really happy about. One of them is Jackson Holiday. Jackson Holiday is growing right before us. This is kind of what we expected last year. Jackson Holiday is hitting about 270. You're seeing now consistent production, hitting off to a bit of a slow start. No question about it. He's been your leadoff guy. Like to see him a little bit more aggressive on the bases. That's the only complaint, I think, with his speed that he has. Like to see him a little bit more aggressive there. But he's really good. Gunnar hasn't been great. I think he's been good, but I think still Gunner's about 250 now, picking up some steam. But it seems like every time we're going to get a real Gunner roll, he kind of goes 0 for 8 like a couple times. So Gunner is like to see a little more from Gunner here as well. But it, again, seems like it's coming. Adley's struggling as far as just for average. He just is. He's just not. It looks like he's chasing pitches. It doesn't look like he's fundamentally sound at the plate. They need him to be better than what he's been. I think there's no metric where I can call Adley the best catcher in baseball by any stretch of the imagination at this point as well. I do think the potential's there. I don't think we're ready to throw dirt on anything like that. I don't, and I'm also not mad at people that want him to be hitting lower in the order. I'm not mad at that. I mean, he's hitting 208. I'm not mad at that. The other bright spot we talked about Jackson Holiday is Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn, I think, is the bright spot. I think he is the guy. He's the most valuable Oriole, and it's not close right now. I think Ryan O'Hearn's hitting over 330. He had a home run, 3 home runs last night. Offensively, he has been the consistent production in the Orioles lineup all season long. I think there's no question about it. He's been your most consistent guy as well. Emmanuel Rivera. Nobody's really talking about why they sent Kobe Mayo to AAA, even though the people want to see him. Emmanuel Rivera has played well, as quiet as it's kept. Now, I know he's not the future of the franchise or anything like that. I'm not denying that, but he is hitting 259, slugging percentage almost around 300. So he is doing better than Mayo, who really struggled there as well. So he is playing DH. They're moving a lot of these guys around as well. Kerstad, I think the clock is starting to tick. He hasn't really played well. He did have the one good game in Boston, but he's hitting now, I think, below Mendoza. He's not really good defensively. Terrible defensive play in the game last night. He's getting a shot. I think only because of injuries, but he's getting a shot. It'll be interesting to see. But I think a lot of it because of so many guys have been on the shelf. O'Neal's been on the shelf. Romano's on the shelf. And Colton Cowser could be coming back. Could be coming back soon. So we will see about that. But he's got to start showing something. They're giving you a shot, man. You gotta do better than 200. Same with Mountcastle and Mullins. Mullins, I think, was out of the lineup for a couple of days. They're just putting to put these guys in order. Mullins are just putting wherever guys are hot. Holiday, Gunner, Adley, and O'Hearn have been at the top, and then it's been whatever after that. Could be traded. The rumor was he was already traded to Philly. That turned out he's still there in the lineup. Mountie, same. It's just heartbreaking with Mountie because I think the potential is still there. He's just not consistent enough at the plate to actually become that 30 home run 100 guy. It's inconsistent. Clearly, they're not going to extend him. I think it's only a matter of time before they actually move on from Mooney. And Urias, he's been playing typical Urias contribution. I put that last month. That's the same. I think he's probably playing more because of the injuries, but he's going to give you something. I think that's why the managers actually like him. Injuries and bench, I might have missed a few here, but Grayson Rodriguez still on a 60-day DL. Colton Cowser is rehabbing in Aberdeen, so he should be back very shortly. Wells, I haven't heard anything on as well. O'Neill, still injured. Westy is not quite ready yet. I think we're talking about Michael Elias said possibly June. Sanchez is still on the DL. Word is Bradish might be getting around up, trying to ready for the stretch run. On the bench, Jorge Mateo not playing much at all, except for injuries. Dylan Carlson hitting less than 200, but I think off to a good start. Romero, I think with the injury, and Suarez still on the IL. Probably if he pitches again August. It'll be a while before he actually goes out there. Excuse me. Like I said, a lot going on this year as well. Eflin, not great the last start. Still probably your number one pitcher as well. Dean Kramer has been Dean Kramer. It's been good. It's been bad. So used to say that about Kyle Bradish. You get good Dean, you get bad Dean, you get something. Right? He was fantastic in this last start. I thought he was great. And then after that, he was stock consistent. He's a 500 pitcher. I think that's what he's going to be at this point. Sagano, not helping him as much in the win-loss column, but he's been good every time. Decent start. Not good at the start, though. They're getting behind in games. The last couple of games he's pitched, even though it's kind of evened out overall as far as that goes. But no problems with Sagano. Could he be dealt? I don't know. K. Povich, I don't know if he stays in the rotation with the way Trevor Rogers pitched the best game I saw by Oriole pitcher, Oriole starter at least, all season long. Terrific. I'm thinking he stays in the rotation as well. They may send Povich down and have Charlie Morton, who was good in his last start, even though I haven't listed here in the bullpen. He's been back and forth. Most of the month he was in the bullpen. Batista, I thought, was good in his last outing. He struggled a bit. I'm not overly worried yet. Dominguez, I think, again, not consistent. I don't know why you keep putting Greg Soto in high leverage situations. I don't understand. Every time they have a high leverage situation, I'm seeing Greg Soto. And he keeps giving up hits. So I'm not understanding that, but as well, he's there. Charlie Mort, Yadier Cano, game on Monday. Exactly how I want to see it go. Dominguez, Cano, Batista. That's the 9, 7, 8, 9. If they can do that the rest of the year, they can actually have some more success. Cano, inconsistently. I think the ERA looks worse than what it's been. But, I think numbers do speak for themselves. He struggled a little bit lately. Morton, I thought, was terrific in his last start. So it only took us to Memorial Day to get a good start from Charlie Morton. 0-7, 1-7. Good for you, Charlie. Not any good. Keegan Aiken, I think, slipping a bit. I still kind of think he's underutilized. They're not using him. Barker's ERA has been up a bit, but he's definitely been your best left-hander for sure. And Bowman, I think, has been back up and down. He's here now. He's on there. I would be remiss. Kalao Perez, they did go ahead and release if you're looking for him. He's gone definitely for the Orioles. There you go. It's been like this. The Adams family, I don't know, man. It's I want to say good things, but they're just not developing their guys. You see flashes of it at times, but just not enough to be consistent as well. Orioles reports. We're gonna go ahead and knock this out. We just talked about it a little bit. Designated Kyle Perez. So this was a guy. If you talk about the season in 2023, was really one of the better arms they had. Really was really solid even last year. Not quite as good, but he's just been getting blasted. So they went ahead and did that, designated him for assignment. And in return, Trevor Rogers for Norfolk. So he pitched one of the games of the doubleheader. I thought it was the best pitching performance of the season. So why was he returning to Norfolk? He was always going to return to Norfolk because he was the 27th man. Do you allow a 27th man when you have a doubleheader in 2 games? They allow you to take some of your 40-man roster and bring them up and start them. So they went ahead and immediately sent him down. I can't imagine that they're not sending him back to the mound in a couple days. We haven't seen that yet, though, so we don't know. Cooper Hemmel signed a 1-day contract and go ahead and designated Taryn Vabra for assignments. So we'll get to that. So the very next day, they signed Chadwick Tom to Norfolk and designated Cooper Humble for assignment. I don't think he played 1 game. They had a video of him walking through the warehouse and then seeing everything, and then they immediately sent him away. So, yeah. Top is here, 3rd catcher, basically because of the Adley injury. I think they weren't sure if Adley was going to be out for a while. He did play today, so I think they were a little worried about that. So that was something, but they did go ahead and they're keeping 3 catches. Maverick Hanley has not been hitting. I know he seems to be popular with a lot of guys, but Maverick Hanley is hitting, I think, 71, not even 100. So I think that's another reason why I have another catcher here as well. Colton Cowser Colton Cowser has started his minor league and rehab assignment in Aberdeen on last Wednesday. So Cowser hit a home run. I think he's been doing well. And he's going to be back, I think, sooner rather than later as well. I think Cowser, I do think, is going to be pretty soon here the right fielder again for the Orioles here as well. So definitely keep that in mind. You're definitely going to have Cowser as well there as well. So let's get this in here.
Okay, I got it.
Get this in here as well. So Matt Bowman has been up and down. Another guy who didn't stay long, Vladimir Rolando, optioned back to Norfolk. So they did go ahead and bring him up. Now he has again been sent down. So the back end of the bullpen, they kind of don't know what to do, in my opinion. I think they're just trying things. I think the biggest problem with the bullpen is that you're not getting good starts. So once you start getting good starts, you can start doing something with the bullpen because you're just chewing them up. And so this is why that's the old baseball term, because that's why you're seeing guys go up and down, not playing well. You're seeing all that stuff, why you're seeing guys go up and down. This is why I think even the Mount and some guys have been inconsistent. They're pitching too many games or not, you can't really get a timeline for them and all that, etc. So that's what I kind of think is going on there as well. Vavra, we mentioned him that he went ahead and gets sent down, and he did go ahead and get sent down. So he accepted the assignment to Norfolk there full time as well. What's going on this week? The White Sox, I'm not going to do hot and not. The White Sox are going to come into Camden Yards. Look, you can't win this series. Like, you got some problem. This is a series you're supposed to win. On the opposite end, the Mariners, I think, might be the best team in the entire AL as well. So definitely check that out. The best team in the entire AL. And player of the week, I'd like to say someone else besides Ryan O'Hearn, but Ryan O'Hearn. Ryan O'Hearn, I think, was the best player the Orioles have had all season long. I think he was great again this week. They're not helping him enough. I mean, Holiday's kind of come along. Gunnar, Adley kind of stuck in like this. A lot of the injuries. So Calvary may be coming, but definitely shout out to Ryan O'Hearn. I'm definitely going to give him player of the week. Thank you very much, everybody. We hope you had a good time here. Definitely check us out next week for our Ravery Sports podcast and every week here on the Ravery Sports YouTube page, Twitter page, and also on Driving to the Top Productions. Thank you. You have a great rest of your day.